already told me that a guy named Reggie Miller may have had a conversation with you at the half. Yeah. He won't tell us what he said, but will you tell us?
Send me the suit, the blanket ball.
So that was Buddy Hield after the Golden State Warriors victory tonight, 124-106. We're going to talk about this game, as well as I will give you my complete National Basketball Association rundown. But I have to say, when Reggie Miller talks, yes, Buddy Hield, you should absolutely listen to him. Look, Reggie Miller is a lot like that old television commercial. When E.F. Hutton talks, everybody listens. Reggie Miller absolutely knows what he's talking about, and Buddy Hield woke up in the second half of tonight's game. He actually scored 19 in the fourth quarter to help seal the deal for the Golden State Warriors. We are going to talk about the Warriors. We're going to talk about a player named Lindy Waters, who you've probably never heard of before. Go ahead and look him up. Lindy Waters is making like $2.1 million a year. He came off the bench tonight, finally got some real minutes in a NBA basketball game for the Warriors, and he put up 21 points. There is a reason this Golden State Warriors basketball team is actually playing as well as it is this early in the season. And yes, Steph Curry did not play tonight, as you all know. It has everything to do with two things. One, the offensive strategy, the willingness to play a lot of players. And the second thing, which we don't really talk a lot about when it comes to the Golden State Warriors, it's the defense. Jerry Stackhouse, who is an assistant coach on the Warriors this year, is making an absolutely huge difference for this Golden State Warriors basketball team with some of his defensive strategies. We will get into that plus a whole lot more on this edition of the NBA Rundown. It is super late night, Tuesday, October 29th. And I have to say, it was another fantastic night of basketball in the association. We will also get into my NBA rundown, but we begin tonight with the fact that the Golden State Warriors actually took down the New Orleans Pelicans. Now, the Pelicans certainly short a couple key players on their roster, but I swear CJ McCollum didn't appear to realize there was an actual basketball game going on tonight. In his 31 minutes of play, he looked like a rookie that was lost the entire evening. He actually finished the game with just 5 points. He only shot the ball 8 times. He went 2 for 8 from the field tonight, 1 for 4 from the three-point line. If you want to look for a reason why this game wasn't really competitive down the stretch, you can look no further than the poor performance that CJ McCollum actually put on paper as well as on the court tonight. But for the Golden State Warriors to actually have the nerve to play Lindy Waters as much as they played him tonight should tell you everything that you need to know if you didn't already realize what a great head coach Steve Kerr is. He absolutely understands what talent and how to get the best out of specific pieces of talent. Now, maybe Steve Kerr is not right for Jonathan Kuminga, but maybe Steve Kerr is right for players like Buddy Hield and Lindy Waters, who's only making $2.1 million this year. He was originally with the Oklahoma City Thunder. He played for the Thunder for 3 years and was traded on draft night and to the Warriors. Now, Lindy Waters actually played really well in the preseason. For those of you that actually had a chance to catch any Golden State Warrior preseason basketball, as I did, being here based in the Bay Area, I can tell you one of the standouts was absolutely Lindy Waters. And to this point, coming up to this very point in the first 3 games, Lindy Waters had a grand total of 13 minutes of playing time granted to him by one Steve Kerr. During those 13 minutes of playing time. He actually scored 14 points. Look, Lindy Waters is a 3-point specialist, but not only that, Lindy Waters is not a person who's on the court that doesn't play defense. And one of the reasons the Golden State Warriors are doing as well as they're doing is the fact that they have some new assistant coaches on the team this year. And one of those assistant coaches is, of course, Jerry Stackhouse. And one of Jerry Stackhouse's specialties is defense. And while, we all think of Jerry Stackhouse as a great offensive player, he was always a good defender. And he's certainly bringing some different looks to the defensive side of the court for this Golden State Warriors team. What you're actually getting is players who are being significantly more aggressive on the defensive side of the ball. Now, I'm going to say what the guys on TNT were actually saying at the start of tonight's game, which is the New Orleans Pelicans should absolutely win this game. And I completely agree with Shaq on that, as well as Charles Barkley, because look, at the end of the day, Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, Herb Jones, and CJ McCollum should have flat out destroyed this Golden State Warriors basketball team, but that didn't happen. When you look at the actual box score of tonight's game, and you look at how many players on the Warriors actually ended up in the actual box score from the bench, you look at the bench performance. Jonathan Kuminga, 17 points. And you would think that Jonathan Kuminga would be a starter. I think the Kuminga-Kerr thing just doesn't work for whatever reason, but still 17 points off the bench. Kevon Looney, 4 points. Lindy Waters, as we mentioned, 21 points tonight. Gary Payton II, a defensive specialist, 7 points tonight in just 8 minutes of playing time. Look, at the end of the day, this Golden State Warriors team is probably not good enough as it stands today to challenge for an NBA title. And I'm certainly not saying that. But from a pure regular season sort of performance, this team is a lot better than you actually think they are. All right. To our National Basketball Association rundown. Oh, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please go and subscribe. And of course, like this channel. Every like certainly helps, and every subscription helps. We just cleared 2,000 subscribers, so we greatly appreciate all of that. In terms of the rest of the light schedule in the association tonight, the Nuggets actually had to go into overtime to beat the Brooklyn Nets tonight in Brooklyn. I am just saying, I talked about the Nuggets a lot last night. I'm not going to say too much about them tonight. I mean, it was Joker's 29, 18, and 16. He's just an absolutely incredible player. And Dennis Schroeder Jr., it's like every time I see him play, he just surprises me on how good he can be if he's given the opportunity to play real minutes in the NBA. Now, of course, it tends to take playing for a bad team, as the Brooklyn Nets are, for him to put up some big numbers, but 28 points, 14 assists, and we all know how he played in the Olympics as well. My Minnesota Timberwolves lost at home tonight in the Western Conference Finals rematch to Kyrie and Luka. In this game, Ant was absolutely unstoppable in the first quarter of the game, where he scored 24. He didn't score at all in the second quarter, and then they got out-strategized in the third and fourth quarter and ultimately ended up losing. Kyrie put up 35 tonight in the victory for the Dallas Mavericks. I have to say, PJ Washington, 17 points. Gafford, 14 points. Luka, 24 points. Klay Thompson completely lost tonight. Completely lost. Played a little bit better than CJ McCollum played. He had 7 points, but he played He was 2 for 7 from the three-point arc. I am just saying, this Dallas Mavericks team, I feel like, is still 1 or 2 pieces away, but they're still a very good basketball team. And as they go through the season, they will certainly get better. Now, I talked about Anthony Edwards a little bit, and we talked about Anthony Edwards actually scoring 24 tonight in the first half of the game. Finished the night with 37. He had 6 boards on the night. Just way too many turnovers for the Timberwolves. If you have the league pass, go back and watch the second half, and it was a turnover fest for the Timberwolves. The Sacramento Kings did what every basketball team should do in the NBA, and that is beat the Utah Jazz tonight. 113-96 was the final. Sabonis had 28 points in the game. Jordan Clarkson with 21. There were a couple injuries in tonight's game for the Jazz. Look, it was a all-around performance, a good performance for the Sacramento Kings, who are now 2-2 in the season. And the Jazz, it's cloudy with looks like no chance of a win anytime soon for this particular basketball team. I have to look and see when they actually have a chance to play the Detroit Pistons. As much as I like what Danny Ainge does from collecting draft picks, at some point, you want to demand that your team actually does what it needs to do to actually win. And this particular basketball team right now just doesn't have enough talent on it to be a legitimate night in and night out threat. As hard as they will play, they just don't have enough fuel in the tank. All right, that is it for tonight's National Basketball Association rundown. Imagine having a guy just make $2.1 million, hasn't really gotten any real time at all, and then suddenly Steve Kerr looks down on the bench and goes, I think we're going to play Lindy Waters tonight, and I think we're going to give him some real minutes and see what the kid can do. 21 points on the night for Lindy Waters. A fantastic evening for him. Congrats. He also had 8 rebounds and 4 assists in the game. For the NBA Rundown, I am Dave DeBaugh, wishing you all a tremendous rest of your sports viewing day. To the cool new music we go.
This is Phoenix.